Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Lineage Break, a Grand Archive TCG podcast. I am your host, Cam. With me, as always, is terminally online, Stephen Gluman.
Hello, folks. How are you doing today? Hello, Cameron.
Hello. How are you?
I'm just trying to pull up articles.
I'm just trying to give you a hard time.
I understand.
We're back. A dinosaur's story. Here to talk about Grand Archive. Last week, I feel a little bit bad about last week, Stephen. I think maybe let's get comfortable. All right. Let's get comfortable. I feel a little bit bad about last week. I think we're in a bit of a funk or something. I was in a mood last week. There was lots of complaining, and I try not to be a serial complainer, because whatever, right? There are things in life, Stephen, that you just can't fix, and so you don't need to complain about Merlin because she's going to be there no matter what you do. So why waste your breath complaining about that dumb swear word?
Sure. Should we complain about the rest of it, though?
So last week, we thought Christchurch was last week. And it's not. Hold on. I got added by the boss. Great. You're dumb. You know that? You're dumb. He added me, and it just says distraction, so that I would open my phone. And thanks, Sil. So last week, we thought Christchurch was last week because we're stupid. I'm going to blame it on somebody. I don't remember who, but somebody told me it was that week, and I believe them, and that's my fault. Christchurch is, in fact, this week as of recording the show. So if you're watching the show live, something that we just mentioned before we started the show proper, is that Christchurch coverage, at least for us locally, starts at 2:30 p.m. local time, which is 2 hours from now. So Christchurch starts in 2 hours, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, we just get to watch it all day.
So anybody that's on the waking world side of the globe can watch it now instead of it being 10 a.m. in the crazy upside down place. So we have Christchurch to talk about, but also last week there was there was one very large event and one very mimetic event full of talented players. So we had the Yeti Regionals, which was 144 people, I think, so pretty big. Our first large scale regional post 3 visits errata. And then we also had the Luxera's Map Invitational, which was an invitationals tournament, which you got an invite if you top 8'd the Luxera's Map Open, which was about 3 months ago, or if you won an Ascent. So I think it was 8 Ascent winners, 8 top 8 slots from Luxera's Map Open. And obviously there's some really talented players in there. A lot of people were playing hideous meme decks, I think. So I don't know how much stock we want to put in that one, but it is worth talking about. I do think that the top 8 of that event is all pretty real decks. And then unfortunately the bottom 8 of that event is some hideous meme stuff, which is pretty cool. I like hideous meme decks, but they did not do very well. I was like, oh, look at this sick Rye deck, and I don't remember who was piloting it, if it was Pickle or something.
Which one? The Arcane Rye, the water one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Pickle.
It was Pickle Sword. Known very good Rye player. I was like, oh, Pickle's playing Rye again? That's so cool. And then I looked at the record and it's 0-4. I was like, oh no. Oh no. That deck's cool though. So we have a couple of tournaments to talk about. We have Christchurch to talk about, and then we'll talk a little bit about predictions for the weekend. So, Stephen, before we dive into metagame stuff, do you want to talk about Christchurch proper, the event and stuff? Because we have the event guide. We've gotten a little bit of information, and then we'll talk about the actual card game stuff.
All right. So something cool about Christchurch is that it is a 3-day event. It's not just Saturday, Sunday. It is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which I hope becomes the norm.
I think that us as a community, anyone who's watching the show, anybody out there in the internet land, should try to be as vocal as possible to your Weebs of the Shore overlords that I think 3-day events is just so much better.
Right.
And if you look at the event schedule for Christchurch, it's not super densely populated day one, which I think is like maybe what the worry is, that if there's not enough to do on Friday, like why do it, right? And the schedule is pretty sparse, but there's a couple of things that are really important to note. Is there is one like really cool side event that they're doing, which is a sort of like the Scrubbed Out event, where the winner gets a Jumbo card. There is the Scrubbed Out event this weekend as well, and I assume that one also gets a Jumbo card. So I think instead of putting one of them in the shop like they normally do, this Friday event is how you win the first one, and then the Scrubbed Out event is how you win the second one.
Yep.
And unfortunately for me, it is a much cuter girl than the one that we had access to in Toronto. But having a premiere side event on Friday is cool. But I think the most important thing is that you can check in for Path of Steel. And were there artists at this event? I believe there is not any Grand Archive artists, but I think like Choco Felicia is there selling some fan art and stuff. But the problem with like vendors and artists at Ascent is if you're playing in the event proper and you want to like go line up for artist stuff, you don't get the chance to, and then usually by the time you know, like play a couple of rounds, maybe you're playing a slow deck, you go to time, you know, most of your rounds, right? And it's like, oh, it's the lunch break, I can finally go over to the artists. They're all sold out of, you know, whatever you wanted, play mats or artist proofs or whatever. So I think it would really benefit almost all of these events to have a Friday where you can like, you know, relax, see the vendors, buy artist stuff, check in for Path of Steel, and then maybe like stick around for a side event or two, which is exactly what it seems like Christchurch is. So
which
it's great.
A+ in my book.
Do that.
Because like when you get that, because usually we're there either, you know, Friday, Thursday, Friday, and like we like kind of like putt around and don't really do anything, but like you know, it'd be cool to just like go and hang out at the event. If you know,
Friday draft. Noel is right.
Yeah.
Friday draft events would be great. Now the draft is a thing that they're bringing to premiere events. We always bemoan there not being official trade nights. I think there is one for Santa Clara, but like you less so need official trade night if Friday is open all day. People just like come in hang Friday, do trading. Yeah, I think it's very good.
Yep.
So.
Day 2, we got your Path of Steel regular normal check-in, and then you know, you just have your regular Path of Steel rounds. Yeah,
I don't know if we know how many rounds it is quite yet. I guess we'll see shortly how many people are signed up. I think when I looked last night, it was like 175 or something. Maybe it was 145. One of those numbers, but that was before day one. So I assume it's probably in the 200-ish range, as they usually are. And I know that obviously Oceania is a little bit of a smaller community, but you do obviously get that SEA crossover. It's a reasonable trip for the SEA folks.
It looks like there's a cafe there too. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, they have a cafe. The kitchen's open. There's VIP catering. That's less so a thing that, you know, that just depends on the venue, right? But I am jealous.
But yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah. Plenty of side events to join, probably on demand.
Yeah, they're not. Unfortunately, no drafts.
No drafts, but like this,
but like on-demand constructed events and stuff. Yeah.
And then day 3, you know, you got your Scrubbed Out, you got your top 32 check-in,
and your
closing ceremony.
We will let's do that one last. We'll complain about the metagame a little bit, and then we'll swing back to a positive note and talk about closing ceremony stuff at the end of the show.
That.
Most notably, for all of you beautiful people that are in Christchurch, hey, congratulations. You are fighting for, so far, the best released spirit in Mrs. Wet Grippers, Gwendolyn.
Yeah, she's
making her return. We saw a picture of the trophy, which is interesting for Chi-Chi. I saw it on Twitter. I think that was Mitch or somebody that posted it. Where instead of having a traditional trophy like we have in the past, the trophy is a like large slab that is magnetic that has the first place Gwendolyn in it, and then it slots into a base.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't obviously I'm never gonna win one, so it doesn't matter. But I don't know how I feel about it. In that, like, me as a person, I guess it depends what you're gonna do with your prize card. It is magnetic, so you can just pop Gwendolyn out, which is cool. But like, I would definitely have Gwendolyn out and be like using her, And then like the trophy like probably looks kind of sad. It's just like a big empty slot on a stand. It's like, what the hell is that for? It's like,
You
oh
just
yeah,
get a second.
I won first place in Ascent, but I took my prize card out. So I don't know. I'm not sure, but it does look cool when she's in it. But I would be too tempted to rip that girl out of there and single sleeve her. You locked front door, right?
I did, yeah.
All right. We're getting robbed. True American fashion. But yeah, so that's exciting. There's a couple of exclusive playmats. I see Steven eyeballing those.
Just looking them down there. It's the Xiao Chow and Sao Sao mats.
Yeah, Xiao Chow and Sao Sao.
I'm very jealous. I really wanted that Sao Sao mat.
Mm-hmm. Well, if anybody is in Christchurch this weekend and wants to pick up a Sao Sao mat for Steve, let us know. And then like I said, Choco Felicia's there doing some art. She does beautiful work, so go check her out. I don't know what she's selling exactly, prints and stuff. Maybe she's doing sketches. I'm a big fan of those SP2 blank cards, so maybe if that's something that they're doing, you guys can get your sweet doodles. Yeah, so that is the plan for Christchurch that is this weekend. And we'll talk a little bit about our speculations for the closing ceremonies towards the end of the show. But before we get there, I have a confession to make, Stephen.
Yeah.
There's a website that exists that I didn't actually understand that it existed until just this week.
Oh.
Are you familiar with Sylvie.gg?
I am not.
So one of the folks in the Discord runs this website. And for some reason, my brain doesn't work. And I've seen it so much because they're very active in the Discord. It's Crothus, I think. And I always assumed it was the Sylvie deck builder. What's the address for the Sylvie deck builder? It's like Sylvie dot something, right?
I don't
for
remember.
the not shout at your decks, but the other one.
I don't remember. I haven't used that one since
But I always assumed that that's what it was. When I saw their name, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they must work on the the deck builder website for Sylvie. That is not what it is, and it's in fact a very, very helpful website. So if you guys are ever looking for tournament deck lists and meta reports and stuff, it's great. And so I've been using it a lot this week, and so we can use it to take a look at the Yeti Regional. I say we'll do the big one first, and then we'll talk about the Luxurious map.
Yeah.
Open afterwards. But yeah, it's super helpful. Tells you what deck everybody's playing. You can view their deck lists. We're not sponsored. I just am enjoying this website. So how do you want to do this, Steven? Do you want to rip off the Band-Aid? Have you looked at the top 16 for Yeti Regionals last week?
I did not know.
Well,
but
great.
I'm assuming it's a lot of Sylvie.
We can get your unfiltered opinions. So it was a big event, 144 players, and that means it was a cut to top 16. So we have a top 16 for this event. And let's go from the bottom up as far as deck placings go. You guys can go check out the event if you want to see who placed what, playing what. But I'm going to go from least to most as far as lineage representation, all right, in our top 16. So we have 1, Serene Fire, Luxem Xander. What a cool deck. We have 1, Absolute Hero, Fragmented Water, Arisana. Not a level 3 deck, by the way. Was like one of those weird Icebound Slam mill decks. We have 1 Fire Tristan. Fire aggro, punch face. We have 1 Fragmented Fire Merlin. We have 2 Spirit of Wind Kongming Razorgale decks. We have 3, and this is kind of the for me the story of the weekend, both this and the other event. We have 3 Spirit of Wind Tristan Umbra decks, making its return as mid-range Umbra Tristan. 3 decks in the top 16, and then of course between The first and second place with 3 copies is Spirit of Fire Slime Sylvie, and first place with 4 copies is Spirit of Slime Sylvie. So 7 Sylvie decks in the top 16, and I do believe most of those were in the top 8 of this top 16. Which I can't say. It's what you love to see.
Yeah.
It's a lot of slime decks. Something that does need to be considered is the age-old adage of the card game, right? Is that when the format is untested, when people are playing, decks that are not finely tuned, you take a deck from last season and you play it, and especially you take a deck from last season that is aggressive. And so Sylvie does fit that bill pretty well, that if you don't want to experiment with any new tools, like we've seen, this Wind Kongming Razorgale deck sort of floating around for the past week or so, to replace the Vanitas deck. But if you don't want to worry about new decks, just take the best aggro deck from the last set, and that is what Sylvie is. So we can maybe attribute some overrepresentation to a new, less solved format. But it's a lot of slimes.
A lot of slimes. And I think that's fine. You play a tested deck. It's good.
Yeah.
Kills people.
It does. It does kill people.
So it's not very exciting. And I was telling Cam on the way in, I watched exactly 3 matches over the course of the weekend. I didn't watch any of the open or the invitational.
Right.
I did tune in to exactly 3 matches. One of them I watched all the way through, which was Noel playing Arisana, which was very cool. Very cool. Love that deck. Love to see it. The other 2, I immediately clicked off the video because I just didn't care. And they were both, it was like Nico versus Sylvie, and I was just like,
yeah.
It's this meta again, huh?
Yeah.
And it's just not fun to watch. And I feel bad for casters that have to cast slime matches.
It's fine. I think it's fine is sort of where I've landed on it. I am a slime defender. You guys all know this. A couple of people have come up to me and, given me shit for being a slime defender.
Yeah.
And, I understand that Steven and I, to a certain extent, are company men, right?
Yeah.
And so it's hard for you all out on the internet to take us at face value because, we have an association with the company, right? And, you don't shit where you eat or whatever. But I really don't think it has anything to do with that. I do think that Slimes is too good. I don't think I've ever said that it is not too good. It is to me, and maybe it's just my unique lens on the game. But it is a beatable strategy. You can build a deck that beats Slimes, and I'll tell you what. Here's my secret tech for all of you out there that don't want to lose to Slimes. Arisana's matchup in the Slimes is very good. It is very good. I'm not going to say it's unlosable, but it is very good. You should have a positive win rate into your slime decks if you're playing Starcalling Arisana. However, I don't think that it is healthy to have any deck that you have to build your deck to beat. And that sees as much representation as this. I think the best part about Slimes for me is that it is accessible. It's a very accessible deck. And so lots of people that are new can both buy it, is accessible monetarily, and can play it, is accessible skill-wise. I know there are some skilled slime players out there. I think about the chess club guys, the top 8 of Chicago. And however, I think that the difference between the floor and the ceiling of Slimes is much closer than almost any other meta deck, where if you play it at the floor, you will win most of your games. If you play it at the ceiling, you will win more of your games, but I think the difference is a lot smaller. However, it is probably a little bit overtuned. So recently at Ascent Toronto, they moved Baby Gray Slime to Category 2. Steven, I don't know if you have a better lens on this than I do. How, and maybe chat can weigh in as well, even though we're usually not chat readers during the show. Assumingly, this is very much going to be on their watch list for the ban list on Monday. That happens after Christchurch. Does that like make Sylvie unplayable? It's like very unclear to me how like integral that card is.
I haven't played too much of Slimes.
Right.
I don't think it becomes unplayable if they ban Baby Gray.
Right.
Right. Like you still have all of the tools. But I think maybe it slows it down enough where like people might not want to be on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like
because like right now, like when I'm playing against Slimes or I'm seeing someone play Slimes, right? Their whole feedback loop is flickering Baby Gray. I have 15 cards in my hand. Now I'm just going to start turboing out Storm Slimes or Slime of Avarice. I don't remember what it's actually called. Ethereal Slime. There you go. But yeah, you know, and that's like their gameplay loop, right? Like.
It sort of depends, right? So that's like why that Vanitas deck was so broken, right? It was using that sort of like slime card advantage engine to pump out a bunch of card advantage. But like my impression of the like Spirit of Slime decks and these Fire Slime decks has never really been that. You know, it's like they want to play their Baby Gray on turn 1 because it draws a card and puts cards in their memory. But like Forest Cake does the same thing. Kind Beast Caller is like kind of similar. You know, so like everybody's like, oh, they're gonna ban Baby Gray. Oh yeah, they're gonna ban Baby Gray. It's so broken. And like I understand that it's that they want to ban it because it's like leaving that shell, right? And like the Vanitas deck is a perfect example of unhealthy. But what I'm worried about is that they ban Baby Gray on Monday, and everyone's like, we did it, we defeated the villain, and then like Slimes is like just as good. It's like yeah we lost like 5% because like we don't have Baby Grays on turn 1, but we replaced it with whatever stupid card you want to replace that is, 2 cost, replace itself, and then you just play the same.
And arguably, you probably, the fire variant of that deck probably gets better.
Right.
Because, now you don't have to worry about, fitting in Storm Slime, or Shield Slimes, and
Slime Shields and Baby Greens.
And Baby Greens and all of that other stuff.
Yeah, and if you want your card that replaces itself, you replace your Baby Grays with Creative Shocks, right? And like we've solved the issue.
Correct.
So that's the thing that I'm a little bit worried about. I've never been a ban Storm Slime kind of guy. I know that's a thing that runs around in the in the ethos a little bit, but I'm only worried about them banning Baby Gray, but it's not having the effect that the community wants it to have, because I think the difference between how the developers feel and the community feels very different to me. Maybe it's just like the echo chamber that I exist in, but like it feels like the developers and me to a certain extent think Slimes are fine, and the community does not feel that way. Slimes are too broken, they're ruining the game, they ban everything. And I think that the community sees this Baby Gray ban as, oh, they're going to help fix Slimes, and I think that the developers see this Baby Gray ban as, we are going to stop this card from touching other strategies.
Right.
So, I don't know. I think it does really depend how Christchurch goes.
Yeah. And it's hard to say, like, I'm never a proponent of, like, banning a win condition card, right?
Right, I agree.
It's like a weird, because like once you start banning win condition cards, it's like, where do you stop? You ban Storm Slime, well, you should ban Fireball too.
Right.
And if you're banning Fireball, then you should ban, Leeching Bolt or whatever.
Right.
You take all these strong cards, and then you're gonna get stuck into the feedback loop of Luxem Xander matches where everyone's going to time and no one can finish a game.
Right. Yeah, I'm not going to go down into the rabbit hole that I'm sure I've done on the show before, but another card game that will remain unnamed of the Marvel Spider-Man variety
That could be like a bunch of them, actually. It's kind of wild.
Once did this to one of their very powerful formats, where they removed all of the win conditions, like one at a time. They removed all of the win conditions from the format through ban lists. They started with one, and then when they banned that one, the other ones were too strong because they banned the first one, so they banned those, and then it just sort of like trickles down forever, right? So if you start banning all of the powerful cards that are like not problematic but are powerful out of a format, you will just like depower it into like virtually a limited format,
Right.
Which in my personal opinion sucks.
Yeah.
Like I know that there's allies enjoyers out there that are like really want DOA style, everyone's playing vanilla 2/3s. Like DOA before anybody realized that Rye was good or that Sword of Avarice was a card that was printed, right? Where everyone's just like, yeah, I'm playing my allies deck. Ensoul's pretty good. That is not really the format that I want.
Right.
Like, I think the cool part about Grand Archive is the advanced element stuff, and if you don't like care about champion lineages and your champion getting more powerful or whatever, like this seems like it's sort of not the game for you. And so I think if you ban all these powerful cards, if we go down the route of ban Shadow Strike and Storm Slime and Fireball and Merlin level 3 and all that nonsense, right? We just play, everybody's playing Fire Xander or Wind Allies, and that is not really the game that I want. So
yeah, I kind of feel very similarly to that.
So yeah, like Slimes is good. I just don't have a solution for you. I think that's why I'm defending Slimes so much. Is like I don't think there's a good solution. Like I think you either let that deck be like sort of uninhibited, and hopefully bans like the Baby Gray Slime ban, and maybe they have to look at more consistency pieces like Forest Cake or whatever, seeing a ban, right? Maybe helps that deck be a little bit less consistent, but still as powerful. I think if you ban any of its powerful cards, you just eliminate a deck from the format. And like I don't know that that's really good.
It always feels bad, right? Especially when it's like you've onboarded people with this deck.
Right, yeah.
You've introduced people to the game with these recollection decks, and regardless of their power level, it's just like that's how they got into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just outright banning cards out of it, then you're just like kind of alienating that player and saying you don't really care about them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like we see the competitive community is very, and obviously I'm generalizing. I know this is not everybody, but it's very anti-Slam.
Yeah.
But like they already play the game competitively, and I do think it is really something to. You shouldn't necessarily use the market as leverage for ban lists, right? You just like want your game to be healthy. But like I think it's impossible for weebs to not consider exactly what you said. That like this has been their most successful onboarding product. And it is to date the cheapest competitive meta deck that you can play in Grand Archive, especially with the Dungeon Guide reprint, where like if you want to play a Slime Sylvie deck, it probably costs you like $100, provided you can get the Recollection deck at retail. And if you eliminate that completely, especially in the time before these new Recollection decks come out, like maybe once those come out, you have more avenues to engage with the newer player base. But like if you get rid of them now, you exactly like you said, you alienate a large portion of new players that got onboarded with the Slime deck that probably like really enjoy it. It's like it's a fun deck to play. Winning the game is fun, and casting Storm Slime for 8 is fun. Like I've played very few games of Slimes in my life, but I can't say that I hate when I play my 0 reserve cost 8 damage card. Like feels pretty good.
Right. It's also it's like the same thing like casting like Arcane Blast.
Right.
Like if
yeah,
you're
big number feel good.
If you're level 11, you're just like dropping Arcane Blast for free. Like, hey, 11 to the face is pretty cool for nothing.
Right.
Like, that's fun.
It's just the difference in like effort that goes into casting that spell, right? Yeah. So there's our diatribe about Slimes. Yes, we understand it's a problem. No, the company doesn't pay us. Yes, something should be done about it. However, I don't know what that is. There's one topic I want to talk with you about, Stephen.
Ooh, me.
But before we get there, let's take a look at this meme tournament. I have the Luxera's Map Invitational up. So as we mentioned earlier, this is 8 players that top 8'd a tournament 3 months ago, and then 8 of the best players in the game, all Ascent winners.
Yeah.
So very high level, like high skill level tournament. However, it was supposed to be like for entertainment, and there was like real prize support on the line, so like a lot of players did play real decks, but I would say it's about 50-50 players that played real decks and played
it's pretty clear.
Hideous meme decks.
I was gonna say it's pretty clear where the meme decks and the real decks are.
Right. Yeah, the meme decks are at the bottom of this this cut,
so and then 9 through 16 is the meme.
And so I don't want to put too much stock into this tournament compared to the regionals, because I do think the regionals was probably a little bit more of a competitive event with less memery on the line. However, it is an interesting top 8 to talk about. We do see my favorite deck in the form of 2 wind, 2 fire, 4 Merlin decks in the top 8. 2 fire, 2 wind. Very traditional stuff. We see 1 absolute hero playing Fire Arcane Rye. Yes, that deck is good. You're just not a good enough player to play it, chat. We see 1 Wind Hybrid Allies deck. And then the 1 Wind Kongming deck as well. Terry playing that new Razorgale deck, which I actually think is pretty cool. I'm kind of a Wind Kongming enjoyer now that it's a
Kongming deck.
I think it's now a much more reasonable deck. And so I think that like that deck in a vacuum, like strategy-wise, is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was way too powerful.
I'm a big fan. It's playing Tempest Downfall. I really like Tempest Downfall.
It does a lot of its damage with Tempest Downfall.
Like I really like this card.
So like Tempest Downfall, Cyclical Breeze, my Tempest Downfall, like goes kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually think that deck's pretty cool. But then the topic that I do want to talk to you about is in first place once again. Is Wind Umbra Tristan. So we're seeing a lot of this deck pop up. We saw 4 in the top 16, 3, one of those numbers in the top 16 of the other event, first place of this event as well. And this is a deck that sort of like fell by the wayside last format. And I even mean pre-Razorgale. Like we weren't seeing a whole lot of Tristan at the end of the MRC format. And so as a once Tristan stan,
I love it.
Is this like surprising?
I don't think it's surprising, to be honest. I think Tristan has always been strong, and I think the issue, right, is that a lot of players. I don't want to like disparage on anyone. But I think a lot of players relied on Outlook, and when Outlook got banned, they were like, "This deck is unplayable. Can't play. Nope, it's unplayable." But did you know that if you just play this as a mid-range deck,
it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know? And then sometimes you mastermind scheme and you slice and dice them for 40, and it still works.
Right.
But you'd have to hold up interaction now.
Right.
Which is, easier said than done, but 6 cards in hand isn't unheard of in a mid-range deck, right?
Of course. Like, that's the whole point, right?
You Shadow Strike, you hold up your Incapacitate. They try to interact, you blow them out.
Yeah, I think I was definitely shocked to see her do as well as she did, but I'm not. I am on your side that I don't think it's like unreasonable that she did as well as she did. The deck is still good. Just really wasn't seeing a lot of representation.
Yeah.
But I think the most interesting part and something for all of you out there on the internet to take away from this is that this list is not like really A and B pilled. It's playing like. At least we're looking at the first place list from the Invitational because it's up in front of us. As far as I can tell, it's playing exactly 2 Heavenly Guides from Moral Ambition, and the entire rest of the deck is like classic
Tristan.
Umbra Tristan.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, it got this new card and now it's got this new lease on life. It's just like, decks will sort of like ebb and flow and fit into the meta.
And it's not Heavenly Guides aren't even in the main; they're in the side.
They're in the sideboard. Yeah.
For the Sylvie,
like Merlin or Sylvie or whatever. Right. So yeah, like there are decks out there that this deck has probably been good for the past, month, right?
Right.
If we're discounting Vanitas, but that just like haven't been explored yet by the community. I think something that people really often forget in our little grand archive bubble. So this game is super small, and there's just like not enough people testing to know what the good decks are all the time. And again, like back to our Sylvie argument, I think that is a large reason why Sylvie is so represented. Not that the deck isn't strong. Of course, it's extremely strong. But, like, it was also handed to us, right? And so was this Tristan deck, for the record. But there are, definitely more things that can be explored. And we see that, obviously the field that this Tristan player was playing in was a little bit less slime dense. But the regionals players surely had to fight against a bunch of slimes. I know, I don't remember the numbers, but in the regional, the Yeti regional, Sylvie was by far the most represented deck. I think she was 40 copies or something in 144 players. So you can defeat the Slime Menace.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think it's healthy that you have to plan to defeat the Slime Menace, but whatever.
Right. You still have to, it's not even defeating it really, right? There's plenty of cards in this deck that you're playing anyways that just inherently do that.
Yeah. Hell of a card, that Dream Fairy.
Shadow Strike, Dream Fairy.
Veiling Breeze. Stifling Trap. So yeah, those were our events for the weekend. And so, unfortunately, if you put a gun to my head, chat, and if you would, let me know. For Ascent Christchurch, I would unfortunately be pretty stunned if our highest represented decks weren't Merlin and Sylvie. And that is kind of exactly what we don't want. It is a real shame that it feels like once again the new heroes in Kongming and Jin, both of which I do think have one determined meta viable strategy. The Wind Kongming Razor Guild deck and the Fire Exia Jin deck that Killy played in Toronto. But I do think both those decks are getting a little bit overshadowed by our old overlords in Merlin and Sylvie holding dominion over the format as usual.
Yep.
And maybe there'll be some fun surprises. I always hope that there is a deck that was discovered by the people that are in the know that are going to bring to this event that nobody sees coming. I think post Vanitas that's a little bit less likely. So I think we will see a lot of these old heroes, and we'll see how they treat said old heroes on the ban list. But Steven, negative Nancy feelings aside, also something that I think is a pretty interesting topic for this weekend is at the end of every Grand Archive Ascent. Nice. What you doing over there? Nice.
Panicking.
At the end of every Grand Archive Ascent, they do a closing ceremony. You guys are surely familiar with those. My favorite part of the Ascent weekend. And Christchurch, a bit of an odd duck, I think, where we are pretty far from Abyssal Heaven. It's not out until March. But most notably, we are very close to Ascent Santa Clara, where in the announcement of Ascent Santa Clara on the Santa Clara page on the Grand Archive website, it does say that we are getting a live version of the holiday stream that they did last year. And during the holiday stream last year, there was lots of big announcements about the future and some retroactive looking back, and it was a big day for newsy news, as we love. And so I'm a little bit curious about where Christchurch is going to fit into that puzzle, right. And what we're going to see this weekend. Because I think it's a little bit too early for Abyssal Heaven. However, I see that you've pulled up
some art,
some grippers.
Yeah, there's some grippers on this card, and there's some grippers on this card.
That's true, grippers and grippers. We saw our first piece of Abyssal Heaven art this week.
Sorry, I blanked there. This card is I can't speak. Extricating Touch.
Extricating Touch.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything that's going to get clipped out of context about that one.
No.
But I enjoy this art.
I will send you screenshots of what he said about this art later if you want. DM me.
But it is a little bit early, right, to start getting art spoilers?
Right.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I'm curious to see if we get maybe a few more at Christchurch.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting Christchurch to be where we get AMB or ALC altar.
Right.
Stuff.
Yeah.
I was expecting to see maybe a couple of the 20 that one for each class or something.
Yeah, there's kind of a lot of information about ALC Alter, and they've been like kind of hush-hush on it from the behind the curtains on the distributor side. HVN pre-orders have been up way longer than ALC Alter pre-orders as well. I just got the information from my distributor yesterday about ALC Alter orders that are very much sooner. That's 6 weeks away or something.
Right.
So yeah, there is a lot to hear about for ALC Alter. There's 20 new cards, 7 new CSRs. All the URs are getting new art. So that's a lot that they could put in there. It's unclear to me. I guess it sort of depends on what happens at Santa Clara, right? Or if they're giving us a bunch of future information at Santa Clara, if we're seeing HVN cards and we're seeing, the future of Grand Archive for the next year, right, in Santa Clara, then they can spend Christchurch talking about all this ALC Alter stuff. But it is very possible that even Santa Clara is too early to see Abyssal Heaven stuff, and so maybe we get a lot of ALC Alter stuff at Santa Clara.
Yeah, but what event do you put that stuff at?
The Abyssal Heaven stuff, probably Utrecht, right? That's in January.
Oh, yeah, that is January, yeah.
Yeah, Utrecht in January.
There's not one in February.
No February event because it was supposed to be the release of of HVN. So, but yeah, maybe that's part of it too. That all of their their convention plans were pushed back a little bit as well when the set got delayed. So maybe they were planning to talk about HVN in Santa Clara because it was a little bit closer before they had to push it back to March. Yeah, definitely interesting. I would have 100% been with you on the we see a bunch of altar stuff at Christchurch, and then they threw us for a loop by posting this, hot lady from HVN, which does seem a little bit early to me. So,
I just want to say though, it's right up my alley.
Yeah, dude.
Look, man, it's so edgy.
I think it's going to be an edgy set.
I'm so happy.
Which is exciting.
We were just talking about we wanted a spooky edgy set, and
yeah, dude.
We're getting it already.
I like Resolute Stand, Obviously it's a cringe boy, but I like that dark fantasy sort of
Have you seen the promo? That's a hot girl.
Oh, that's true. I should buy those, huh? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's a hot girl.
Yeah, I should do that. Something I want to note that I posted about on Twitter, but that I find a little bit interesting about this card as well. Is that I agree. That's what I find interesting. Is that she's holding a a paper charm, which is traditionally a Japanese shrine maiden sort of thing. Probably other Asian cultures as well. But it is very notably does look like the mnemonic charm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that mnemonic charm?
So maybe not literally the mnemonic charm, but in that similar vein, and so that's why I sort of assumed that this would be a mage cleric card. Especially since all of the touches are mage cards currently.
I didn't know there was more than chilling.
Or I guess I'm thinking of
the
Freezing Steel, but that is also a mage card.
Oh yeah.
That is in that similar cost floating memory do a thing. Chilling Touch also.
She's also kind of I would assume cleric, because she's also using kind of water to stave off these demonic looking hands that are coming out of the ether.
Yeah, I don't know. It's unclear if she's holding them back or summoning them. I really don't know. Are those under her control, or are they attacking her? I don't know.
If I had to guess, maybe
maybe both, dude. Who knows?
I don't know. It looks like she's using the water to block this one, but this one in the back looks like they're combined.
I don't know.
It's very interesting.
Could be cool. We like demons around these parts.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I think that's it that we have to talk about today. Glad we had a little bit of newsy news to talk about.
It wasn't enough.
And then hopefully they will feed us well
over the next week.
Now that I know that you're watching out there.
Feed us for Thanksgiving.
Feed us for Thanksgiving. So true. Feed us for Thanksgiving.
Give us a little meal.
Spoilers to talk about.
Give us a little meal.
And listen, I don't know if this is happening, but I would like to throw my metaphorical hat in the ring that if it's decided that we want to do a small little spoiler season for ALC Alter. You can ring your boys up.
Yeah, we chill. I have a whole week off. So if you want,
that's true. Yeah,
we could film something real good.
We could have a spoiler video out in days.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. So we will be back next week. That is the day after American Thanksgiving. That is on Black Friday. Whoa. Hi. Whoa. So we will be back on Black Friday to talk about all of the Ascent Christchurch news. The winner, or congratulate, put name here, about their win at Ascent Christchurch. And we will see you then. So, thank you guys for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Woo. Yeah, woo.